Let's bring in the man who has more juice right now than Tropicana, Coach Iron Michael Chandler. First off, happy 4th of July. Are you celebrating with the fam?
Yes, happy Independence Day. Absolutely, I am. The greatest day of the year today, the 4th of July. So yes, we are, and things are looking good for Team Chandler. So there's lots of things to celebrate.
A lot of things to celebrate, but right now, the biggest moment of the season so far, Conor McGregor put them hands on you and mushed you in the face. But let's take a look at that before we talk about it.
Stacking them up.
Not against me.
I'll stack them up.
Not against me, I'm not.
Too.
Good job. Great work, Coach. Great work.
Stacking them up, baby.
Not against me, I'm not, Michael, yeah? Hey. Some of these kids are in the UFC before you're in the UFC. So don't be starting trying to say, yeah, this and that.
As long as you show up for them, maybe if you showed up for them,
maybe break your nose, you little fool, you.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, what? That hard tick, you little tick, you
wait.
What was the first thing that popped in your head when he mushed you?
Well, hey, let's just look at it. It went from 0 to 100 very quickly. To be honest with you, I didn't expect it. Obviously, be ready to protect at all times. The first thing was, holy cow, okay, he just put his hands on me. What's about to happen? Is he in my space? But obviously, he backed up. I obviously got pushed back, and we both kind of started walking towards the center of the cage. And then when he starts taking off his coat, I'm like, okay, we're going to fight right here. Obviously, you never quite know what's going to happen. We're in a reality show, but it's also two dudes who want to fight each other. So I was ready for anything, and obviously I was ready to fight right there if we had to. But, let's be honest. We're on a reality show.
Now, Mike, we want to get an expert's opinion on the proper technique. So can you tell us how we did? Take a look at this clip. Listen, Dean, I coach the Ultimate Fighter. I'm the first female to win the Ultimate Fighter. I won the World Championship. What am I going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to break your nose, you lazy tick? Yeah, that's what I thought. You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. This is my show. My show. My house. Woo-hoo-hoo! Better get out of here.
Dean was still back there dancing. You couldn't put him down. Although, Dean, you did fall down. I didn't fall down. I barely went back a couple steps. But I was ready for anything that might have come.
But to be fair, you got pushed by Conor and I got pushed by Julianna. So that's the reason why I fell. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Now, Conor basically bet his entire season on a prospect, his very first pick, Lee Hammond. How do you think he feels about that decision now?
Yeah, no, I mean, let's be honest. Lee Hammond did show and prove that he's got a very bright future in the sport of mixed martial arts. But it always goes back to experience and, sometimes a little bit of just because he was winning almost, 2 3/4 of those rounds doesn't mean that you're not always in danger. And that's why we love this sport. Kurt Holobaugh used his veteranship, his mat awareness to be able to cinch up that mounted guillotine, and then it was over as soon as he locked it up and started squeezing. That's a 36-year-old man, battle-tested. This is his third opportunity to get back in the UFC. There was a lot riding on him squeezing Lee Hammond's head, but Lee Hammond showed up and proved that he deserved to be there. So tough situation for all of Team McGregor, especially Conor. And I love to see that moment. I love to see Conor actually distraught and dropping to his knees for the loss of one of his guys.
Yeah, that was a great guillotine. Honestly, I almost wrecked my car because I was screaming so happy for Kurt. But right now it's time for a fan question. This one is from Bambino Gold, and they asked just how difficult is it to make the transition from fighter to coach?
It was for me. I knew this was just it was a coaching competition. It was a 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it was going to be in Vegas. I knew what I was signing up for, and I knew I was going to have the opportunity to pour into these guys for however many weeks it was going to be. I definitely don't see myself being a long-term coach. I don't think I'm going to coach after I'm done fighting. But for those 4 or 5 weeks, those guys were my fighters. Those guys were my family, and I really enjoyed the opportunity. So I'm sure I'll dabble a little bit, but really getting those guys to believe in themselves was the most important thing. And then showing them a couple little techniques. It was a very short amount of time, so you couldn't really throw a bunch at them. Just get their heart full, have their ears open, their eyes open when they're out there, and that's all you can really do, and go out there and let it fly.
Mike, I do want to know, because that fight, it seemed to be going the other way. It seemed to be going in favor of Lee Hammond. Was there any point in which you were sitting there watching this fight thinking, uh-oh, our run stops now?
Actually, I will tell you a little secret that wasn't shown on the show, and I talked about it in my TUF reaction show, but I had my coach and one of our striking coaches, Jason Strout, sitting to my right. I actually sent him back to go warm up Jason Knight, who fights next, and said, hey, it doesn't look like Kurt's getting off the bottom. He can't get out of this. He can't get out from underneath. We're about to lose a 2-round decision. Just go warm up Jason. Make sure this is our first loss. Make sure you keep the morale high back there. Get these guys smiling. Get them in the right state of mind, because we're going to keep on moving forward after we lose this fight. Lo and behold, Hail Mary Holobaugh goes up in there, throws in the guillotine, and finishes Lee Hammond. And I had to admit to Kurt the next day, hey, just so you know, they might cut it so that it shows that I basically gave up on us winning that fight. But it looked, I think everybody watching that fight knew, at least they thought in their mind, that Lee was going to be on top, finish the round, and boom, Kurt just throws up the Hail Mary, catches him, gets his hand raised, and man, Team Chandler 6-0.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. That was a Hail Mary, and like I said, I almost crashed my car. I was so happy for Hail Mary Holobaugh. Mike, you said that you wouldn't coach after you're done fighting. Why is that?
You know, I don't want to make it it's a very selfish answer. I can be honest with you and say, hey, I am very selfish. I love my wife. I love my 2 boys. If we have more children and add to the Chandler family, right now, when I leave my family, it's because I got to go do a job and I got to go provide for my family. I got to put food on the table for them. I just don't think me spending every day in the gym 2-3 times a day, plus pouring into these other people's careers like I have poured into, which will be about 15-20 years by the time I retire. I don't think that's in the cards for me. So it's not because I don't love pouring into people. I'll still be a mentor. I'll still be in gyms, training with people. I own a gym in Nashville called Nashville MMA. I'll pour into those guys. I'll still train with my team at the big gym down in Florida. But for the most part, I don't see myself pouring myself into a career as a coach. But I'll always be around the sport. I love the sport. It's just not going to be my next profession.
Well, we are blessed to have you as a part of the sport. Mike, thanks again for coming on the show and joining us weekly. Can't wait to see what happens next week, man. I hope he don't put his hands on you again, but we'll have to see next week.
I hope he does. I hope he does.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.